what is the spiritual dream meaning of a backpack? To really get it, we have to talk about Cheryl Strayed and how she almost didn't survive herself.
At 26, her life was just a total wreck. Her mother was dead, her marriage was in ruins,
And her body was strung out on heroin, just a string of bad decisions. She was completely dissolving. And right there, in that desperation, she made a choice that made zero sense.
she decided to walk 1,100 miles alone on the Pacific Crest Trail. To do it, she strapped this enormous, completely overloaded backpack to her body, a pack so heavy she could barely even lift it. And she named it Monster. And get this, she hadn't trained. Her boots were all wrong. Her toenails literally fell off. But somewhere deep down, on this gut level, she knew that the weight on her back, it was the only honest mirror she had left. Every single agonizing step was a negotiation between the person she had been and the one she was fighting like hell to become. Because that backpack, it wasn't just luggage. No way. It was her soul made visible. And millions of women saw themselves in that image. A woman bent under a pack that's just too heavy for her. Why? Because we have all been her.
Okay, so let's bring this to you. What does it mean when a backpack shows up in your dream? Simple. It's your psyche's 911 call.
That backpack in your dream is a direct, in-your-face symbol of your psychological load. And let's be clear, this isn't your to-do list. This is the heavy stuff. The grief, the guilt, the unfinished business you are carrying around in your body, in your nervous system, every single day.
Think about it. Your schedule. It's just words on a page. It's abstract. You can deny it, you can ignore it, but your load, when that shows up as a heavy backpack in a dream, something you can physically feel the weight of, well, that's a whole lot harder to deny, isn't it?
So let me be crystal clear here. When a backpack appears in your dream, your subconscious is not being subtle. No, it's staging an intervention. It is forcing you to make your burden real, to make it concrete, to make you see it, to make you feel its weight, so you can no longer pretend it isn't there.
But here's where it gets really interesting. We have to ask the question, whose weight are you actually carrying?
This gets us to something called the relational load. What is that? It's how much of your emotional energy is being totally consumed by holding other people's emotional worlds together, often while your own is just quietly collapsing in the background. And let's be honest, women are conditioned for this role, right? To be the carriers, hold the family together, remember everyone's needs, the birthdays, the appointments, who's mad at who, and then apologize for needing even a second of rest. So when you dream of that backpack, that is your inner self screaming, just screaming, look at what this is doing to you.
So I have to ask you, and you really have to ask yourself this, is the weight in that dream backpack yours? Is it actually yours to carry? Or have you been hauling someone else's grief, their responsibilities, their expectations of you, for so long that you've just plain forgotten it was never yours to pick up in the first place? And this is the most urgent question of all. What happens to a woman who never, ever puts it down? Which brings us right back to Cheryl Strayed. Because what she did next, well, that's the choice that saves you. She chose to turn around and face her monster. She chose to feel every single ounce of that weight instead of just numbing herself to it again and again. And that choice, which was agonizing and unglamorous and just plain bloody, that's what saved her life. And this is exactly why this dream is so urgent. It is not decorative. It's not just some interesting little tidbit from your subconscious. It doesn't matter if you're 22 or 62. It doesn't matter if your burden is your career or a parent or a marriage or some version of yourself you left behind years ago. The point is this, the dream is your psyche's 911 call. And you have to answer it. You have to listen. Because your dream is asking you the exact same question her monster asked her. Are you ready to finally, actually look at what you're carrying? Part 2. All right, let's get right into it. If you're dreaming about a backpack, listen up. The details, the color, the weight, what's inside, they are not random, not at all. Your subconscious is sending you a high-def message about what is going on in your life right now. The specifics are everything. So first up, let's talk about that crushing weight. That feeling that you're carrying way too much.
whether it's actually yours to carry or not. Now, let's be incredibly clear about this. This isn't about what you think you should be able to handle. This is a gut-level biological signal. It's your body telling you with total honesty that you are past your limit. This isn't a judgment, it's data. So what do you do? Here's the assignment. First, you inventory. Write down every single thing you're responsible for. Seeing it in black and white will be a shock to your system. Second, find one thing, just one, that you can hand off, get rid of, or push back. And third, and this is non-negotiable, you do it this week.
And that leads to a really important question. What happens when the weight you're carrying isn't even yours?
Oh, this is the big one. This is probably the most common and the most destructive version of the stream. You're carrying the weight for your partner, your parent, your friend. You picked it up so slowly, so quietly, you didn't even realize it happened. So when you ask yourself what would happen if you just handed it back, that wave of guilt or fear you feel, that's the key. That discomfort is not a reason to keep carrying the weight. It's proof of how tangled up you've become.
All right, let's build on that. What about what's hidden inside the backpack? Or worse, the terrifying fear that it's just gone.
So you're hauling all this weight around, but you can't even get to it. This is usually old grief or some trauma that you've walled off. But here's the thing, carrying it all sealed up like that is exhausting. It is costing you precious energy every single day. The only way out is through. So grab a journal and use this prompt for 10 minutes. The rule is you cannot stop writing. Don't edit, don't pretty it up. The goal is raw honesty. Let your subconscious speak. Whatever comes up is what needs your attention. This is the identity crisis dream. It shows up all the time during big life changes, a new career, a divorce, the kids moving out. It's that deep, nagging fear that if you strip away all your roles, there's nothing left underneath. Think of this as an emergency diagnostic test. Can you, right now, list 5 things that are true about you that aren't about being a mother, a partner, or your job title? If you have to pause and really think about it, that's the crisis, right there. Okay, let's shift gears and talk about dreams of preparation, because there is a huge difference between frantic, fear-based packing and real, deep readiness. If you're dreaming that you're packing, you're getting ready for something new. But the question is, how were you packing? Was it chaos? Were you just throwing things in, totally panicked? Or was it calm, clear? The how tells you everything you need to know. And this, right here, is the million-dollar question. The gap between the journey you think you're supposed to be on and the one your soul is actually on, well, that gap can cost you your entire life. This is the dream you want to have. It's a signal that everything is aligned, but here's the catch. This is a green light from your subconscious, and green lights do not last forever. It is a signal to act, to move, now. When you have this dream, your job is to figure out what's working and protect it. Name the part of your life that feels this good, this aligned. And then, instead of running to put out fires elsewhere, your only task is to feed and protect this good thing. That's not selfish, it's strategic. You're shoring up your foundation. But what happens when things aren't working? When your ways of coping are breaking down and all you feel is a terrifying emptiness? A dream about a torn backpack is a serious warning sign. Your support systems, the ways you deal with your life, are failing. The message is simple. Do not just put a piece of tape on it and keep going. You are heading for a total collapse. You have to stop and rebuild. Waiting will only make it worse. So it's time for some brutal honesty. Which coping strategy has stopped working? Is it overworking? Numbing out with TV? Whatever it is, you have to name it. Then you have to get real support, a therapist, a friend, even just scheduled rest. The key is to do it now, immediately, before the breakdown forces you. You'd think dreaming of an empty backpack would be a relief, but it can be absolutely terrifying. That anxiety is actually the clue. It's pointing to a new kind of freedom that you have no idea what to do with yet. And that brings us to our final theme, the choice to finally let go of control and the absolute need to go back and take care of the past. If you dream about handing your backpack to someone else, pay attention to how it felt. Did you feel free? Or did you feel guilty? Because if you felt guilt, you've been taught to believe that letting go is the same thing as abandonment. It is not. This is the absolute core truth. A wound that you ignore doesn't just stay there, it spreads. It infects every other part of your life. And that leads us to the last and maybe the most critical dream of all. When a child's backpack shows up in your dream, it's a message straight from your past, an old hurt, a need that was never met. Taking care of this is not self-indulgent, it's essential work for your adult emotional health. So what did that little girl inside you really need? Was it safety? Was it permission to be messy and loud? Was it just to be heard? Pinpoint one thing. And then this week, you are going to give that thing to yourself. Buy the damn crayons. Take the afternoon off. Speak up. Don't wait for a convenient time, because it will never be convenient.
So I'm going to leave you with this question. Just stop for a second and ask it. What does that younger version of you, the one who's still in there, what does she need to hear from you today? The answer to that question is where your real work begins.
Part 3. Okay, so that dream about the heavy backpack, that's the diagnosis. But a diagnosis is just the first step. What comes next? That's the medicine.
Look, the dream is basically screaming at you that you're carrying way too much. So the real question, the only question that matters, is what are you going to do about it? You don't just sit on a diagnosis, right? You treat it.
So what we've got here is a toolkit. Think of it like that. These are practical, actionable steps, and they're not one size fits all. They're for different women in totally different situations. First up, the immediate action tools. For when you're in a crisis, or you're telling yourself you have absolutely zero time. Okay, let's talk to you first. The woman who says, I have no time. I hear you, but you have 2 minutes. That's all this is going to take. And listen, this isn't some magic wand. It's a cognitive interrupt. It's designed to literally rewire the way you start your day. Every single morning, before your feet even hit the floor, I want you to name one thing, just one, that you're carrying that isn't yours. And you have to say it out loud. Then you say these exact words, this is not mine today. What you're doing is building a habit in your brain, the habit of discernment, and you start tomorrow. Not next week, not Monday, tomorrow. All right, now, for the woman in crisis, the one who feels like the walls are caving in, the dream is hitting you the hardest because your load is, frankly, overwhelming. So let's just forget about some big, complicated master plan. We don't need a plan, we need a rule. And here it is, the one thing rule. I want you to look at all the junk in that backpack and find the single heaviest thing. You know the one that if you could just get rid of it, you could finally breathe. For this week, you focus only on that one thing. That's it. Everything else has to wait. You cannot carry it all at once. It's impossible. Nobody can. Okay, so we've dealt with some mental fixes. Let's move on to the body. Because, sometimes thinking your way out of it just isn't enough. Your body, your nervous system, it has to actually feel the weight come off. So this is for you, the woman who processes through her body. You're the one who needs to feel the release, not just intellectualize it. Your nervous system doesn't really care about logic. It speaks the language of sensation. So let's give it one. Here's what you do. Go for a 20-minute walk. And as you're walking, I want you to assign each burden you're carrying to a physical thing you find. A rock, a leaf, a fallen branch. Pick it up and name it. This is my worry about my mom. This is my boss's unreasonable deadline. Then, at the very end of the walk, you find a spot and you consciously, physically, set down every single object that isn't yours. Let your body feel that, the physical act of letting go. And what if you're the woman who's rebuilding? The one who's gone through a huge loss and you're not even sure what your load is anymore? This is for you. This is a ritual to find out what you're actually carrying right now and to feel that it's manageable. I want you to get a real physical backpack. Write down only what you are carrying today, right now. Not the ghosts of yesterday, not the fears of tomorrow, just today. Put those little slips of paper inside the backpack. Now go through it. Pull out anything that's just old grief or future anxiety. What's left? That's your load. Put the backpack on, feel its actual weight. I promise you, it is manageable. You can carry that. Okay, we've gone over the immediate, in-the-moment tools, the physical stuff. Now we have to go deeper. This is the harder work. This is the analytical, relational stuff that creates real, lasting change. And it all starts with one very tough question. And I mean this, seriously. Look at all that weight you're hauling around and ask yourself, is this burden actually mine? Because so much of the time, the answer is just no, it isn't. But we get so used to the weight, we completely forget we ever had a choice to pick it up in the first place. So here's the exercise. It's called the burden balance sheet. Super simple. Get a piece of paper, draw a line down the middle. On the left, you write what I'm carrying. On the right, is it mine? And the only answers allowed are yes or no. That's it. No well, kinda, no justifying, just yes or no. Everything you mark with a no, well, that's where your work begins.
And if you find that somebody else's baggage keeps magically appearing on your back, it is time for a conversation. A real one. Not a passive-aggressive hint, not a dramatic sigh, a direct conversation where you say these words. I've realized I've been carrying this specific thing for you. I can't anymore. I need you to take it back. And yes, I know, that is terrifying. Do it anyway.
Why? Because here are the stakes, and they are sky high. Unexpressed resentment doesn't just go away. It festers, it turns into contempt, and contempt is the poison that kills relationships, every time. So having that hard, honest conversation, it's not cruel. It is actually the kindest thing you can do.
All right, for those of you who are ready to do the real, deep, long-term work, let's be clear, this is not a quick fix. This is a commitment. This is about fundamentally rearranging your life.
There are two incredibly powerful tools for this. First, the dream dialogue. You literally write a conversation with the backpack from your dream. Ask it questions. What do you need from me? What are you trying to tell me? And just write whatever comes out, no filter. Second, the 90-day unpack project. You take one major burden per week for 12 weeks and you unpack it. You really look at it from all angles. Because here's the truth. Your subconscious isn't your enemy. It is the most honest part of you. But your life won't rearrange itself. You have to be the one to rearranging.
So, now you have the tools, and you have a choice. But what happens if you choose to do nothing? What happens if you just keep hitting snooze on this dream? Well, that brings us to the dream's final warning.
Let's be crystal clear about one thing. Your subconscious does not give up. It will not get tired of sending the message. It will not just quit and go away. The dream will keep coming back. In fact, it is extraordinarily patient. It has all the time in the world. It can wait forever. But here's the crucial difference, the thing you have to remember. It might be patient, but you are not immortal. You don't have forever. And that leads us to the most important reframe of all. You have to understand what this dream is actually for. This isn't some monster under the bed. It's not a ghost that's haunting you. It is protecting you. That is the entire point. The dream, the weight, the exhaustion. It's all part of an internal alarm system. It is trying to protect you from a complete and total collapse that is absolutely on the horizon if you don't change course. See, it's already doing its job. It's sending the signal loud and clear. It is trying to save you from yourself. The only question that matters now is the one right there on the screen. Will you listen?